Today I'm welcoming Adam Peters to the Rock Island line. And Adam Peters is the Director of Operations at Clock Inc. And so he works in Rock Island, though he lives in Davenport. So we will get into that a little bit. But thank you, Adam, so much for being here today.
I am so honored to be the second guest in this awesome studio.
Yeah. And I've started this thing of putting people's names on the wall.
I saw that when I walked in, and I was like, I am so excited to do that.
Mm-hmm. We'll get you up there when we conclude our conversation.
That's amazing.
So, and I've kind of been starting out, we'll get to your work and your role in the community, but I've been starting out with everyone. What is your journey with Rock Island or connection to this city specifically?
Yeah, so first off, I am the perfect conglomeration of the Quad Cities. So I was born in Moline. I am an adopted person, so I was raised on the Iowa side. I grew up in Walcott and then went to Davenport West, but I found my biological family in my early 20s, and they're all from Rock Island and Milan. So yeah, and I lived in Bettendorf for 6 months. So I am the perfect conglomeration of the Quad Cities. But the journey of finding my biological family, my biological parents, was an interesting one and brought me to this side of the river, which, the bridge divide between the two states, that mentality of like, I don't want to cross the bridge, is a real thing. And I didn't really understand that until I became an adult. We never crossed the bridge to come to Illinois. And I always kind of wondered why. And I'm not sure if it has its roots in like racism, redlining. I don't know what it is, but it's a real thing in people's minds. And I kind of got rid of it for myself early on because I'm like, there's so much on that side. And then finding my biological family, it's like, oh, well, I was supposed to grow up over there. I was supposed to go to Rocky. Like, so I've had this like journey of like embracing this side of the river, which now I work over here and I am just like all over the Quad Cities. I don't understand how anyone would ever be like, oh, it's so far, or I don't want to cross over or go over there. You know, I don't know what it is, but we need to get rid of it. We need to work together as Quad citizens together. Cities need to help cities. So that's kind of my start journey of, I started coming to Rock Island as a young adult. I worked over here at a theater that was, that's 2nd Street, right? Or 2nd Avenue. It was called the Green Room Theater. So when I moved back to the Quad Cities after doing college, I got a job as a stage manager there and did 2 productions, Angels in America, Part 1 and Part 2. They're 2 separate. It's such a huge play that it's 2 separate installments. So I worked there and kind of started going around, going to Theo's, and just kind of embracing what Rock Island is. So yeah, that was my starting point. And, I've seen the evolution. I've seen the district be busy. I've seen it now. It kind of fell off and, businesses have left, but now I'm starting to see the investment in the revitalization, which reminds me a lot of Davenport. So as a kid that grew up in Walcott, we also didn't go to Davenport that often. We would go grocery shop there and we would see movies on 53rd Street, and that was it. Like we stayed away from Davenport, the big city. But I remember as a young adult going downtown Davenport and being like, this place is not great. Mm-hmm. And now I live over there and it's like businesses have been flourishing. People are coming downtown. It's like not unsafe anymore. And I feel like I'm starting to see the beginning of what that was for Davenport happening now in Rock Island. I know there's a lot that still needs to happen. I know there's still buildings that are empty, but it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I feel as I drive up and down the streets, to find your studio.
Yeah. Well, it would have helped if I gave you the right address.
No, it's okay. It's totally fine. We made it. I start to see that happening. Like I've been to the city council. I've seen the meetings where they're trying to reinvest in what this is and try to figure out how to bring this place back, and it not just be bars, that it is other spaces, and it hopefully will bring young people down to live, and kind of create a new downtown. So that's my like initial, like what Rock Island started for me. And then of course now I work in Rock Island at Clock Inc., which we serve Rock Island. We serve all of the Quad Cities and beyond. We get people from Morrison, Illinois, Muscatine, Iowa, Clinton, Iowa, coming to our space in Rock Island to create community amongst the LGBTQ community. So yeah, I've always had a fond spot in my brain for Rock Island. And actually one of my first memories that I ever had is, I'm just remembering this now, is driving. My mom used to work on the Arsenal, and one of the first memories I have is driving over the Arsenal Bridge, seeing the water tower, that tall water tower on the Arsenal, and the Oak Ridge Boys song Elvira was playing in the car. So that's like my first memory. So
wow.
Rock Island's in there. It it was where I was going to grow up. That's not how it worked out. But I did ultimately reconnect with my biological family, and they all live here. My 90-year-old grandpa lives on Big Island. My biological mother was a correctional officer at the jail. She's retired now. My biological father passed away 2 years ago, but he lived in Rock Island, and yeah, just connected.
Yeah, it was in your DNA a little bit. It was
truly
imprinted on you, but
yeah.
You grew up in Walcott.
Yeah, and made my way back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And work here now.
Yeah. And that's been amazing. It'll be 4 years in August that I've worked at Clock. Time has just flown by.
When you were growing up in Walcott, you said that the Davenport was kind of referred to as a big city.
Yeah.
Were you raised to understand that maybe Davenport or Rock Island were unsafe?
Yeah.
Was there a hierarchy?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it has taken me like a number of years to really realize what the roots of that is. And that is that like unsaid, I mean, it's kind of it's racism. Like it really is. Like these places have different people. Oh, that's unsafe. And I'm not saying that like people are trying to not, and let me start over. Not all people probably have it programmed in that way, but like passed down through generations, like that's just kind of what it is at a basic level.
Yeah.
I remember I went to Walcott School K through 8. Walcott School is a part of the Davenport School District, but because we are out in the country and pulling from Bluegrass and Buffalo, like it's all white kids. I remember the first black kid I went to school with was in 6th grade. He moved from out of town. He lived in Walcott. He moved away at the beginning of 8th grade, and I was his friend because I was different and didn't have a lot of friends, but we became fast friends early on. And I remember asking him, "Why are you moving away?" And he said, and I didn't understand it then, and I've had to rethink about it later and be like, that makes sense now. He said, because the cops will not stop coming to our house. And I was like, well, that's weird. Why did they come to your house? Like, and he's like, back then I didn't understand it, but it's like they were facing the harassment of being the only black family in Walcott, just constantly getting the cops called on them because they were black.
Yeah.
So that was what that was growing up. And then going to Davenport West, which was just like, you know, at that time there was like a very large Asian population that went to that high school, a large Black population. Like, it was like, I thought it was awesome. Like, my first day of school, I was like, oh my God, there's all these people. This is so exciting. At that time, it was the largest high school in the state. That is not the case anymore. It's like, I want to say maybe in the top 20, but like probably not. And that, you know, public dollars going to private schools, all of that has affected that. So yeah, it just has been like, it was like growing up was, you know, uncovering new worlds just by, in 8th grade, I was in Walcott, and then in 9th grade, I had to go to Davenport West, and that was like the beginning of a new chapter. And then discovering, you know, like, oh, Davenport isn't an unsafe place. Like, it's just a place I haven't been able to go. Like,
as you're talking about this, for some reason, I'm having visions of ice cream. Like, you grow up eating 3 flavors and you're told that the other flavors are going to poison you, or they're bad for you, or and so some people would have this perspective of, I'm never gonna eat those other flavors. There's something dangerous about them. There's something subversive, or I don't want my kids around that. And I wonder if, knowing inside of you that you might be a different flavor too. When you came into that space, you were like, I want to try all the flavors. I love all of this. It's good. It's exciting.
Absolutely. Like, I feel like 9 times out of 10, if you were to grow up in that environment, you're going to move about the world in that way of like, this is not for me. But I was that one person that just felt like that, you know, 1 out of 10 person that was just like, I'm different. And like, no one knows and understands me. Like, I want all, definitely that. Like, it really did feel restricted. And then when we got there, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, all the colors of the rainbow, all the different flavors of ice cream. Let's go. Like, this is a world I want to live in, which is why I love the Quad Cities so much. And working in Rock Island, you know, we just have so many different types of people here. And again, like, such interesting history, such rich history, but also like problematic history in the Quad Cities, in Rock Island. And I just think it's such a great thing that we are talking about it more. We're bringing it to light to try to solve the problems for the next generation. So. Yeah,
I love it. And Rock Island specific, do you think we have any unique identity within the Quad Cities? Is there anything that stands out to you specifically about Rock Island?
I mean, I just feel like, well, obviously on a like higher, like a general level, like the Arsenal being here is just a very interesting thing about Rock Island. Most people, like, if you go out in the world, like if they know what Rock Island is, it's probably because of the Arsenal. But I just feel like when I'm at Clock, when I'm like driving through the neighborhoods, like, it feels like a very rooted place. And I don't know how to describe what I mean by that, but I don't know. I just don't feel like when I drive in Davenport that I'm seeing like neighbors walking up and down the street. You know, I just feel like there's such a like hominess here. Like, it feels like a place that you can sit on your porch and like wave at your passing neighbor. Like, I don't see that in Davenport. I love living in Davenport. Don't get me wrong. I've lived in Iowa my entire life. I'm obviously going to have a little bit more of a connection to that because of that reasoning. But like, there's something about it here. I see people like, I don't know.
Yeah. Thurgood was talking about making your challenges your triumphs, you know?
Yeah.
And I think one of the challenges of Rock Island is we're kind of insulated. We're landlocked. Even when they built the bridge down by Clock, that now it's like you can just basically go from Moline, bypass Rock Island, and go straight out to Milan, you know?
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, I think, is that insulation. You almost feel like you're in a little nest or something.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
not as sprawling. Like if you drive through Moline or Davenport, it's harder to know where are the boundaries of this city.
Yeah,
I could keep driving for days, and
yeah. And
so maybe there it feels like a little, I don't know.
yeah. Well, I also feel like some of the these are like questions that I still have, because like I do drive around the Quad Cities a lot, you know. My family's my 90-year-old grandpa, I see him a lot. You know, my parents live in Walcott. Like I have family all over the place. But like even when I drive to my grandpa's house, I see these like gardens like out that way, and I'm like they're clearly like community gardens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't see that anywhere else.
And partly because of the immigrant population.
Yes.
They've turned over the lots and people are farming on them.
Yes.
And I think it's a little controversial because some neighbors are all for it and some
Yeah.
neighbors, of course, are like, don't do that. And yeah, because we have, I think Rocky was like the most diverse high school in Illinois a few years ago.
Yeah.
Because not just by race, but by religion, by income. So yeah, you see some of that community stuff that you might not see elsewhere.
Yeah. Clock had the opportunity to table at the culture fair. Mike Mertel, who's a teacher at the high school, he for the last 2 or 3 years has thrown the culture fair, and it was my first time ever being in the high school, and there's all of these like stories and, you know, people being like, oh, Rocky's not good, or like and I'm like, it was the most welcoming, lovely experience that I've had in any of the high schools in the Quad Cities. It looks amazing. Like it's beautiful. They've done a lot to the front facade, but even inside the school, like, I don't know, like none of that like prior knowledge and prior stories holds up. Like there's so many wonderful, amazing kids that go there. Every single interaction that I had at my table was like, even if they didn't understand, well, what's this rainbow flag? Like they weren't asking to be butts. They were asking to like, I don't know, like tell me about your organization. We just had such an amazing experience. And that was another just like, man, people love to like demonize and make things something that it completely is not. And it is sad to hear that people wouldn't like a community garden, but it's like also we need more of that.
Yeah.
We need more like homegrown, good food that is being accessed by anyone that needs it. And people are going to start to find that out more and more with the challenges that we are seeing in this country.
Yeah.
And I really feel like places like Rock Island that are already cultivating community in that way, we are going to be the ones that hold up when the rest falls apart, which is very apocalyptic. Doomsday. Sorry, viewers, for that.
It's my favorite genre.
Yeah,
I love anything post-apocalyptic,
Yeah.
and I'm big into this idea of self-governance, that there's obviously we need federal policy and we need food security and
Yeah.
social safety net, but we can't lose sight of our ability to govern ourselves and to create safety in our small community, to stay connected.
Yeah, we need to make sure that's happening, and I feel like that's been happening in Rock Island longer than I've been like working here. Like it's been a long time, and for the community partners that we see and work with through Clock, like it's just, again, feel blessed to live in the Quad Cities, and we feel so blessed to be in Rock Island.
So no pressure.
Yeah.
But if we wanted you to move here, what would have to be here? What would be so attractive? Or, would it be the cost of housing? Would it be kind of a neighborhood that would feel walkable? Would it be land? Would it be, if you were to envision your dream location to live in the Quad Cities, and what amenities and what kind of vibe, and, what would be so attractive here that you would move?
So it would be a very hard thing because I am so like
Attached?
My roots are in Iowa, not just because I grew up there, but because I feel such a draw to changing the awful political climate over there. I think Rock Island has a lot of things, and I actually just bought a house in Davenport for the first time. I've never been a homeowner. I bought a house in February, and I did look at places in Rock Island. The housing costs over here is quite affordable. I think one thing that would draw other people that would be willing to make that move, Davenport has a really cool thing called the Dream Grant. Mm-hmm. And it's this certain neighborhood in Davenport, and a lot of the houses are older. A lot of the houses need some work, but it's a grant for $20,000 for homeowners in this neighborhood to do things that can make, the front of the house look nicer, new windows, new roof, whatever you need to make that house a better place to live. That's a really cool thing that I wish more cities would do. I know there's a lot of homes in Rock Island that are older, mm-hmm. that need sort of that care. There's a giant house that I lived in California for 1 year of my life. Had to check it out, had to see if the grass is greener on the other side. It was a great experience, but I'm a Midwest boy. I got my fill of California.
Yeah.
But my roommate out there, she is involved in real estate and she owns properties in California. And I sent her this house that was for sale not too long ago. And it's one of those historic homes that on the outside, it needs a lot of work. And it probably does on the inside too. But the inside is like all the original wood and the ornate, and stained glass windows and 8 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, and you could get it for $275,000. And I sent it to her and she was like, "Oh my God, I need to buy this house and I could renovate it and blah, 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 blah. This house out here would cost $3 million." And, so there's...
It's so true. We lived in Vancouver for a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
And our rent was more than our mortgage here.
Oh my gosh.
And we lived in a 420 square foot apartment. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We were in a very fun location. We were young. We were never home.
Yeah.
But when you look around the country or the world, it is affordable here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there was something for young people to be able to help them fix up a house and, make it look even better, I think that would be a draw. But
what I hear you saying is, because I'm kind of two minds. Like if you're in a state where the policies are challenging, one powerful thing to do is to take the beautiful you to the state that matches your values, kind of that idea of federalism. And, each state gets to set up the way that they want to and reflect the values of the people there. And one way we have a lot of power is to say, well, that doesn't reflect what I want anymore. So I'm going to take all my goodness somewhere else and feed into this place that is more aligned. Mm-hmm. And this other thing is to say, 20 years ago, Iowa was kind of progressive.
Yeah.
And I grew up in that, and I didn't, but I can imagine that you did.
Yep.
And kind of this, I want to stay and be an active part of changing the shape of my state or my local community.
And I say that with the full knowledge of the privilege of being able to do that. There are people in Iowa right now that cannot, for their own safety, stay and do that work. That they are quite capable. If they could stay, they would, and they would make such an impact. But for their own safety, they are moving to places like Illinois, where you do have civil protections for LGBTQ people. And I am in a place that can admit the privilege, but also say, I'm going to root down and do the work to make Iowa the place that I remember it, where we were in the top 5 for education. I mean, at one point, before I was born, Iowa was number one in education in the country. And we had already started to go down when I was going through school, and now we're somewhere in the middle of the pack. But, you know, Iowa's number one in cancer rates. What's that about? Iowa's waterways are polluted. Like, I want to be a part of fixing that, and I want to be a part of creating a safe place. So I am firmly rooted down in that until I can see positive change. Maybe Rock Island will be a place I retire someday.
Well, you work here, and if you just visit us a lot, you know, you
well,
can
I'm
come
always,
here to
I'm
absorb
here,
yes.
I'm in Rock Island more times than I'm probably at home.
Yes.
So,
So for folks who don't know, can you talk a little bit about what is CLOC? What's your role there? And then maybe we can talk a little bit about policy changes, some of the differences between Iowa and Illinois, if that would that be? Yeah.
Absolutely. So CLOC Inc. is the LGBTQ community center here in the Quad Cities, based in Rock Island. We are on Blackhawk Road in Rock Valley Plaza, which back in the day used to be a Kmart. And now we have this incredible space, 4,700 square foot space, support groups, free and reduced professional counseling, a gender affirming clothing closet, library. We are hosting events all year round. Some of these are educational events. Some of these are social and fun events. Some of these are fundraising events because it's not cheap to run a nonprofit. We are just trying to create community and trying to create better understanding for folks to support the LGBTQ community, but also for folks who might not have that exposure to the LGBTQ community to get away from the toxicness that is happening right now and trying to understand it from a heart-to-heart level and bringing folks into the fold in that way. I've worked there. It'll be 4 years in August. My role is the director of operations. People ask me all the time, well, what do you do? And I'm like, literally, I do everything except for the professional counseling. If there's a toilet clogged, I'm unclogging that toilet. If, you know, we're trying to fundraise, I'm involved in that, event planning, support groups, all of this different stuff. We have 2 employees full-time. We have interns. We have an army of incredible volunteers, the lifeblood of any nonprofit. And we just feel blessed to continue to do this work. I've been so happy to see CLOC continue to grow. When I started, there was 3 support groups. We're up to 8 now. We've just had so much incredible partnerships that we've discovered and, you know, cultivated throughout the Quad Cities with incredible organizations. CLOC is one of a kind, and we are so, and I'm not just saying this because I work there, like I was a kid that grew up in the church, which is not, it can be not an experience that is good for a lot of LGBTQ people, and it wasn't for me. So I never had a space like CLOC. I didn't have an opportunity to meet other queer high schoolers and know that, oh my gosh, there's other people just like me who are trying to just like live their best life. So to be able to support that and to make sure that that's happening is really just, it makes me excited to get up every single day and go to work.
Reminds me of that saying that you grow up to be the adult that you needed.
Yes.
So as you were growing up, you know, and I feel like in this podcast, a theme has been, what is the mirror your community holds to you? And so maybe growing up in a church, like my parents' church is super affirming.
Yeah.
St. John's Lutheran Church in Rock Island.
Mm-hmm.
But not all churches are.
No.
So growing up in a world where the mirror held it back to you is like, is that a core belief, or being told that something is wrong with you or that you're bad? You know, how do you remember? Some kids might feel if they are also believing I'm going to go to hell. I'm afraid for my life.
Yeah.
What was that like for you, if that's not too
I mean,
personal?
that's 100% what it is. Like, I touched on it before. It's like, I grew up under a rock. Like, I lived in Walcott. That was my reality. Like, I didn't know that there was other churches that were affirming. I mean, this was also 20 years ago. This wasn't even just like, so like I just had no clue, and I firmly believed that I was going to hell because I was gay. Like, that is what I was being taught at this church, and I believed it hook, line, and sinker. I cried myself to sleep every single night praying to God to make me either wake up the next day and be changed or just to end it, which is a horrible, horrible thing to think about our youth having to struggle with. And they do struggle with that still to this day. It's gotten better. We are starting to create joint forces. These churches, the church that you pointed out, I'm pretty sure they're now a part of the Affirming Congregations of the Quad Cities, which is a new kind of banded group of all of these churches saying, we may believe in different things, like different church beliefs and whatever, but like we affirm the LGBTQ community and we want everyone to know it. And that's just kind of banded together in the last year. They held their first event, the first night of Pride at the Spotlight Theater. All of the churches came together, lit up the church in rainbow colors. It was really cool. And for someone that lived that life of like, I had no clue that that was a thing, like to see that now is just profound. What I originally was saying too about Clock, we are the only type of community center in our area, and you can't find anything like it anywhere near close. So like Chicago has the Halstead Center, which is incredible and does 50 million kinds of supportive things. But like other than that over there, like there's something in Minneapolis, there's something in Kansas City. There's the Des Moines Pride Center, but ultimately that is a archive library, and they do have like support groups throughout Des Moines, but it's not centered in one spot. So it's a little bit more difficult to access that. I didn't realize that we were really the only thing until I started researching and started going around, because I constantly was on the quest when I started working at Clock. I just felt like we weren't doing enough. And when I started going to these other places, I started having this realization of like, we may not still be not doing enough, but wow, we're doing a lot.
Why is it called Clock? What's the origin of the name?
So Chase Norris is the executive director. He is the one that founded Clock, and he wanted a word that had multiple meanings. He wanted a word that had like a deeper impact meaning, which he picked Clock because time moves forward. We're always marching forward towards something better, something brighter. He also wanted a word that was discreet. So if people were talking to someone and had to say like where they were going, they would be like, hey, I'm going to Clock, and like just kind of move on. Also, in the logo of our clock, we have the hands of the clock on 628, and all of the clocks in the community center are also at 628. So spoiler alert, we have 90 clocks hanging throughout the center. None of them work. They all say 628. And you're like, well, why do they say 628? June 28th was Stonewall. And Stonewall was the modern day beginning of the LGBTQ movement in America. Obviously, queer people have been around in America since the beginning, but that was the sort of beginning of the, hey, we deserve to be treated just like everyone else.
Like the civil rights movement, the suffragette movement, Stonewall is kind of the,
Yep, and Stonewall is represented in that 628 on our clock. So it's a whole host of different reasons, but it really is special, and it's cool to be able to explain it because so many people really are like, why is it called Clock?
And so we have this wonderful place in our community, broader community, but nestled here in Rock Island,
Yeah.
doing really good work in
Yeah.
a very changing landscape where so much is getting better, moving forward. You know, if you think about growing up and if you were 7 again, it's probably in general a better time to be a 7-year-old gay kid.
Yeah.
But also there's this other stuff happening that feels like it wants to pull things backward or decrease
Absolutely.
protections, decrease freedoms. What's happening? Like, what are the big things happening both at the federal level, maybe at the state level that are having an impact right now?
Yeah, so I agree with that. It is probably much better to be a 7-year-old queer kid than it was 20 years ago. The only difference now is that I feel like the unacceptance / hate was just more quiet 20 years ago.
Really?
And now I feel like it is at an all-time high. So when some of the older LGBTQ people are like, well, back in my day, it was super, super hard. And I agree. I know living in the closet 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago and having to, you don't have technology to meet anyone. And it's very difficult. We all have our struggles. I get it. But also what is being blasted out from the federal government, from a lot of our elected officials in Iowa, it's awful. I mean, just yesterday.
So can I pause?
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is 50 years ago, a lot of the pain and suffering was like simmering below the surface. Like the person who was living LGBTQ was doing it quietly. There was maybe hiding.
Yeah.
There was a lot of power from the other side just through like so many people or churches or whatever. It wasn't acceptable. So there was this quiet control.
Yeah.
And everything was below the surface. It wasn't, although, I remember stuff even when I was in high school, like violence toward LGBTQ.
Absolutely.
But it's almost like what I hear you saying is the more self-love, self-acceptance, being out there, pride, the more people are showing up together and living out loud.
Yeah.
And there's almost been this backlash where the maybe voices against that, the violence, the hatred has
Absolutely.
also matched that. And it's maybe,
Yeah.
is that what is happening?
Yes, absolutely. And it's being empowered by people that we are supposed to look to and, see respect and building bridges. And because of technology, because of everything now that is made to connect us more, I feel like it's also being used to just amplify the just most vile voices. Yesterday there was a preacher in Indiana that went viral for his Sunday sermon, which was saying that all gay people need to be put to death and that the government should facilitate this. I mean, kids are seeing this. Kids are, it's wild. And what I'm touching on is 20 years ago when I was in high school, I might be going to a church that was not supportive of gay people and was saying like, yeah, you're going to go to hell. But they were not saying like, you deserve to die.
Wow.
Like I wasn't hearing,
it was more of that, like, love the sinner, hate the sinner.
Exactly. It's more of that passive aggressive BS, which is a whole different topic for a whole different day. But I wasn't turning on the TV and seeing someone call for my extermination. I wasn't seeing people going into a nightclub in Orlando and killing 60 people because they didn't agree with being gay. That kind of just horrific constant, I mean, there's something every other day happening, is just, I don't know how these kids do it other than that they have the inner strength and they have more support throughout their community, people showing up saying, we don't stand for this, we're going to stand with you. And honestly, again, not to get on the Quad Cities soapbox, but I feel like we have something so special here because we have so many of our leaders standing up and saying, we stand with this group of people. And it's like, they might not even agree with it, but they like know what's right and what's wrong. And no one should ever feel like they don't deserve to live because of who they are or who they love. So yeah, it's just wild times for that. In Iowa, we've seen the backslide, and a lot of people like to point to, well, Iowa, you had gay marriage like the third state to pass gay marriage. Well, the thing about that was that was passed by our Supreme Court judges in Iowa. So it was just a handful of people. It wasn't like it was a vote. But when you look at public polling, 70% of the state is like, yeah, that's fine. We don't care who's getting married. So it's like, it's this weird thing where it's like most people don't even care anymore, but yet we've taken this giant backslide where, we're the first state in the entire country to take trans people out of a protected class in our civil rights. Like, we're trying to be helping our citizens, and we are actively saying, well, we don't want to protect them.
Yeah, the first state in the country.
First state
in
the country.
To remove or specifically spell out that trans people are not protected from discrimination.
Absolutely.
So if I was hiring and someone came in and they were trans, I can openly discriminate against them and say, I don't want to hire you because you're a trans person.
And it goes even deeper, and I don't have all the facts on it, but like getting a credit card, it just goes into so many facets that people don't actually take the time to understand how.
A home loan. You can't eat in my restaurant.
Exactly.
I'm not going to. Right.
And people just think it's like, oh, well, they just want special treatment. And it's like, no, we don't want to be harassed, and we don't want our life to be like negatively impacted. And this literally causes that to be so much happening. Ugh.
Do you think, what is that all about? Do you think that is the people making these laws believe that trans people don't exist? Do you think they believe that it's a made up,
I think it's a mixture. I can't say that they all are under.
That's true. There's not one monolith of
but
that, but
I do firmly believe they understand that there's a segment of our population that is afraid of change, wants everything to go back to the good old days of, praying before every meal, and it's just this, they know that they've got this issue that they can get people worked up about. They can get people scared on. And they are demonizing the LGBTQ community because they know that works. And
so almost they might not have firm beliefs about the trans issue in terms of it's more that this is an issue, this is a wedge issue, this is a thing that'll get me votes, this is how I stay in power.
They probably don't have beliefs because they've probably actually never met a trans person, just point blank. And that was the thing 20, 30 years ago where it was like they might not have known a gay person. And as that became more accepted, people were like, oh yeah, they're just like me and you. Okay. Oh, okay. I get it. And I feel like we're in that same boat now where it's like they don't understand what it's like because they don't know anyone. So it's certainly more easier to be like, well, that's different. I want nothing to do with that, and I don't want that to be a part of my life. And I feel like a lot of those people fall into the category where they just go with the flow and say, okay. And then there is the other side where they know this is the issue, how we can stay in power and how we can, get people riled up. And we're seeing it at a national level. We're seeing it not in just LGBTQ issues. We're seeing it with immigrant issues. We're seeing it across the board. And it's scary.
It's kind of like same playbook, different day.
Exactly.
And different population maybe.
Yep. But luckily, in this great state of Illinois, You have people who are actively working to make sure that people are protected still. We have smart people being elected. I know lots of people. I've seen all of the Pritzker sucks signs, but sorry, he's actually standing up and speaking on this issue and saying, this is not right and this is not what we're doing in this state. And God love him for it. God love the people of Illinois that keep electing people that care and that are not going to do the playbook of demonizing to stay in power and push this view of what we should be, and not embrace the actual history of our country, which is just maddening in itself. We are a melting pot. We have Lady Liberty with her torch and her, the bringing together of the world. Like it's just kind of crazy to see the backslide that we've experienced when, as I was growing up, I felt like we were starting to have this new world opened of acceptance. And that's why I'm still in Iowa trying to bring it back to that.
Yeah, I feel like, trying to root oneself in your principles, because I think something that is so unique about the American experience and what makes our country really great is this idea of personal freedom.
Yeah.
And, and that includes the freedom to be who you are, to love who you are, to have the views that you have. And when you really dig yourself into that, like a lot of the clients I have, I give them this thing. It's called Think to Perform.
Yeah.
It's a website, and you can do a value sort. So it'll give you all these words, and you get to sort it down into the top 5, and it helps you uncover, what are my personal values. Mm-hmm. I think mine are like health, spirituality, freedom, something around. I just don't like people telling me what to do in general. That's probably why I work for myself.
Yeah.
So but anybody could do that. Think to Perform. You can go on there, you can get your values. And one of mine is freedom. Even the people that I work with, I want them to feel free. I want them to feel like they can set their schedules and do their thing. And so, and when we're talking about gender, it's like you both want people in the LGBTQ community to be free, to be who they are.
Yeah.
There's also this like hyper masculinity, like those folks also get to be free to be who they are, to be in that, we've got men taking testosterone so they can feel more like men.
Yes.
And so it's like
the hypocrisy of freedom right now it literally keeps me up at night.
Freedom
like
of expression, get the government out of the decisions that parents are making for their children. It's like, I feel like everything's jumbled right now. We want you to be really free and free to express, but not over here.
Exactly.
And there's something like in our history where it's always about sex and sexuality. Yeah. Where we get really hung up. So I don't know. I think if you are into freedom, you have to be into freedom and I guess where that would end is if my freedom to do something affects your property rights, your physical body, like I'm now unsafe. I didn't, we have in our laws some limits to, you are free to burn smoke in your backyard, but at some point, if it's like wafting straight into my window, maybe I have some rights. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, this conversation at this time is so important, and it's something that I've been talking about for a while. It is something that I feel like people who are running for office are starting to talk about more. I have a very political side to me as well. So I've worked on different campaigns, and one of the first people that I started hearing this concept from was Pete Buttigieg. I worked on his presidential campaign. I worked in Iowa, and then I also worked in California as well. But one of his signs, this was back right after he announced there was like 10 hired staff in Iowa, and I was one of them. And we decided we were going to canvass at the world's largest truck stop in Walcott, Iowa, because that was a huge gathering of people. And, They might not agree with you, but you gotta go talk to them. You've gotta make sure everyone has access to what your candidate is saying, and get your candidate, who at that time was no one knew who he was. So we went to the truck stop, and we had two different signs. We had the Pete for President signs, but then we also had these signs that said freedom, democracy, security. Just those three lines. And people wanted those signs so bad because they firmly believe in what that says: freedom, security, democracy, America. That feels very like that. But like, when you talk about freedom, like, yes, you should have the freedom to take testosterone. Sorry. Mm-hmm. There's a show choir called Testosterone in Minnesota that I just funny. Get caught up on. You should be able to take that if you want a bigger pump at the gym and want to feel more manly, or because you're a trans person and you want to have that be in you. Like, those two things can be true.
I am perimenopausal, so it's all the rage in my age bracket is mixing progesterone and estrogen and certain combinations to feel more like yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you go through that process of perimenopause and your hormones start to change, you really don't feel like yourself. You have brain fog, your body aches.
Yeah.
So people are manipulating their hormones in this country all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that, and the freedom to decide like where I'm going to go to gather with people. Like, I'm sure something will come down the pike in Iowa where a community center like the one we have in Illinois would not be able to exist in that state. Like, everything is leading up to that slowly.
For the first time, when I was verifying I run a private practice, so I go in to do the credentialing in Iowa, and you have to go in and do these like updates every 90 days. And the last time I did it, there was a question: do you provide gender affirming care? And that there's no other questions like that. I mean, it's like, do you provide telehealth? But it never, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And the choices were yes, no, and I don't know. And I put I don't know because I was afraid that if I put yes, what are they going to cancel my contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield? Am I going to have my business shut down?
Yeah.
So there are little things in Iowa where even if is that to intimidate clinicians? I don't get it.
I'm sure it's a mixture of all of it. Intimidating, getting info of like, yeah, we're going to cancel because this is gender affirming care. And when people hear gender affirming care, most people are thinking about it in the sense of, oh, they are grooming kids to have surgeries. And that's not the case. Like, no one is, there's these stories about how kids go to school one day and then they're going home the next day saying, I want to become a boy and I'm a girl, but I want to become a boy and I want a surgery. It's like, that's not what this is. Like, we are going to see counselors. We are going to see doctors who have spent over a decade in medical school learning how to talk about these issues, how to help people through these issues. And we're demonizing this care because we want to move the needle in the opposite direction to pass our crappy laws and live our antiquated life. And it's really, really sad. And again, it all comes down to freedom. And it is, right now, we're seeing a lot of freedom for me, but not freedom for thee. And it's really just infuriating.
I think when I was in college, I did a lot of political science. And I think it's like Locke and Adam Smith and all the people who wrote about society and how to set it up. And I think it's Rawls, like Rawlsian theory is almost like you imagine that you don't know who you're going to be and you get airdropped into your society, and you want it to be set up in the most kind of blind way, where you don't know if you're going to show up as a fundamentalist Christian or as a LGBTQ member, as a minority or a woman, and you also don't know who's going to be in power.
Yeah.
In whoever your identity is, you also don't know what group will be in power. And so you're trying to set up a system that you could be comfortable with. And so when you say that for thee, but not for me, but not thee, when you kind of think about this principle of freedom, it has to apply to everyone. And it can't be about controlling the way other people think, whether that's a really conservative Christian person has a right to feel that way.
Yeah.
And the society should never switch to be like, well, now we're in power. And so because you feel that way, I won't serve you, or you're not protected. We've decided not to protect your religious freedom because the tables have turned.
Yeah.
And so you're always trying to set up the system at the federal level, I mean, almost to be hands off. And there was something a little bit intriguing about Elon Musk and Donald Trump talking about freedom of expression and getting out of some of these issues and, you know, really freedom of speech and freedom to, but then it didn't actually happen. It was like, well, now we're censoring speech and you can't disagree with what the federal government believes or you'll get arrested or deported or, you know, so I feel like I'm rambling.
No, you're not. And it's very poignant too, because now with their rift, their friendship has dissolved. And Elon Musk announced the other day, he's starting a third party called the America Party. And some of these issues his main issues are going to be freedom of speech, and some of the things that I think he thought he was going to get to have with the president, but that didn't come to fruition. And I'm not saying it's going to be good or whatever. I'm just reporting the news here. That's, you know, what's happening. But it's interesting because, now I'm rambling.
No, it's just, I think when we go back to basics, I think sometimes these little trinkets of let's fight about this issue that's way out on the branch, it's the last leaf on the branch. What we need to do is go back to the root and say, what is the fundamental principle that we want to uphold in the United States of America? And that's what that sign gets at: democracy, security, freedom. You know, you need your federal government to maintain interstate travel, to keep the dollar, to defend you from, but it probably shouldn't be telling parents what to do. Again, unless you are like burning your child with a cigarette, because that's their bodily autonomy. And so nothing ever goes to the extreme of like, you can never tell a parent what to do. They're abusing their child or, but kind of rooting yourself back in those principles and then applying them fairly to everyone. You know, if you have, it's like codependency is a term in the therapy world, and a codependent is someone who doesn't know how they feel unless they take their partner's temperature. So if we're married and I'm really codependent with you, it's like, how do I feel? I don't know. Let me see how Adam is, and then I can report back how I'm doing. And it can set up kind of this toxic relationship. And I feel like codependents want their partner to not only be in the same book, but to be on the same chapter, the same page, the same sentence. And recovering from codependency is also this process of we need to be in the same book, which is like our general, but we don't have to be on the same page. And we don't have to definitely be on the same sentence. And I can respect that we disagree. I think something that happened to me 10 years ago is I felt like I needed everyone to deeply recognize and understand the beauty of a person living in poverty or a person who had experienced police violence, but that's too codependent in some ways. That's where I think a lot of liberals have kind of gone astray, because when you need the other person to not be who they are, you're kind of doing the same thing. I don't know. It's very complicated.
Well, it's also complicated. And I want to say two things. I am not kidding myself when I say, like, I understand that not everyone is going to agree with how I live my life, with who I am. Like, I get that. But again, it goes to that basis of I should have the freedom to do what I want. If I'm not hurting anybody else and I'm living my best life, I should be able to have the same freedom that you do. And the second piece of that is knowing that we are not always going to agree, but I can also have respect for that person. And I feel like we're starting to lose some of that too. Like, and on both sides, this is not just the people that don't agree with LGBTQ people and other stuff like that. It is people who are even more progressive who are saying, you know, well, they don't agree, they don't like us, so they're evil, they're awful. And it's like, we have to find that middle road somewhere so we can bridge the gap and come together, because everything is just so me versus them. It's like, and I can find myself getting into that sometimes, but I have to like course correct, because I'm like, we're not going to solve anything by this tribalism. Like, we just are not going to. We have to have more grace. We have to have more just like turn on the ears, turn off the mouth. Like, if we don't do that, we are going to continue to see these problems just boil over across the country. It's one of the things that we talk a lot about with the youth at Clock, having more grace, understanding that you actually have more allies than you know, and that people are trying to do the best with what they have been given in their life, and to understand that, yeah, they're probably going to get it wrong, but they're not doing it in a way that is mean or negative. It's literally just an accident or mistake, and we have to have the great grace moving forward to help them along, and to say, hey, it's okay, you didn't get it right, this is what it actually is, let's move forward. And I'm proud to say that we've actually seen a lot of things like that happening where I'm like, oh, they get it. Like, they're being more accepting. They're being more understanding of folks that just don't get it, that have been on this planet for 70, 80 years, that have lived one way and are just now starting to get this understanding that, oh, well, not everything is black and white. And, you know, so
Yeah.
That's one thing that
and that mutual, like, you know, I don't even know how to describe what I'm trying to say, but that mutual, like, it might be difficult. Are you talking about like pronouns, for example?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Pronouns is one of them.
Okay.
Yep.
So maybe a 19-year-old who's like, I want my, oh my gosh, I just spilled coffee all over myself. It's okay. It'll just dry on me while I'm, but maybe a 19-year-old who wants, is going to a family event and is they, them, and is like, I want my uncle and my great aunt to use my pronouns. You know, there could be one person who's trying, some people who are getting with it. Yep. And there could be one character there who's like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. I'm not going to do that. And that, I feel like we have parts of ourselves that could be so activated, like, until that person validates my existence, there's something in me that's like, it's not totally valid. And Absolutely. So I think, you know, I think when you have a stronger community with you that's helping to validate your existence, maybe you can kind of let that go. Yeah. Like, that person doesn't see it, and that's okay. They don't understand who I am, and I don't understand who they are. Yeah. And maybe that's okay. And why does the uncle character have more of a responsibility to understand me than I have to understand him? Exactly. And so there's, I don't know, it's, and then you should pay attention to, like, but 7 people at this party tried. Yeah. And maybe I don't invite that uncle to go out to lunch next week. Like, I can just be okay that we're in different books. You know, we're not on the same page, and it does not take away from who I am. We are fostering the resiliency to make that happen, and we are supporting and affirming and fostering the community to know that when that person goes into that space and doesn't feel supported, that, yeah, well, Uncle Joe can't get it. I've got these people over here that do have my back, and there's also people in this room that are trying. So that's what we're trying to do. It's been really cool to see that kind of start to happen, and see situations where they are out in the wild and things aren't going right, and to see how they handle that, and then check in with them afterwards and be like, hey, are you okay? Like, I just want to make sure. And they're like, oh yeah, I know. Like, they're doing the best that they can. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the kids are all right. Like, it's scary, but it's like, it's really cool to see. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, if my evolution hangs on you, I'm always going to feel a sense of powerlessness. Yeah. It's like, if you and I are taking a journey and you sit down on the side of the road and I spend all my time trying to convince you that you need to get up and keep going with me,
Yeah.
I won't move on with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to maybe leave you there
Yeah.
and keep my journey going forward. And that can be hard. And anytime we get hooked up, whether it's a parent or a former friend, or like, I can't be well until you see me.
Absolutely.
You know, we're kind of from a therapist perspective, we're in the wrong territory. We need to kind of do the U-turn into ourselves and see ourselves, and like Clock is building a community around us that sees us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that might be where things have gotten better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as then you have that confidence and you're walking down the path, the person sitting there is more frustrated. They're maybe more vocal. Who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah.
To live fully in yourself.
Yes.
Maybe they can't do that.
They can't. Yeah. Some
You
of
know,
them can't do that, or, some of them have, their past has, I know this word is thrown around a lot, but trauma, like their trauma from their own life has taught them, like, this is unacceptable. You have to live this one way. And, sometimes that is the case.
Yeah.
And people need to understand that we only know what we know, and hurt people.
Yeah.
So it happens a lot. We're seeing it a lot more. But also, I say that, and I always feel like I need to reroute it as well and say, there's so much good happening. And there is. And I see it every single day. I see it so much in the Quad Cities. I just feel like we are such an accepting area. And I understand Iowa is not great, but like what I see in Davenport is welcoming. Like, to have a city council announce that it's Pride Month, like, that goes a long way. Like, they don't have to do that. They get a lot of crap for that. Same with Rock Island doing the same thing. It's just like, I feel so blessed to be here and doing the work here. And yes, there's frustrating days. And yes, there are days where I see the news. I say, turn on the TV. No one turns on the TV for news anymore. Look at my phone and scroll and see what's going on. And it feels negative and dark, but there's just so much good happening.
Yeah, and I really wanted you on because of the proclamation that was read, and then your response to it was so moving to me. I loved the City of Rock Island's proclamation because it wasn't just like, okay, it's, Pride Month.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very rooted in the contributions and the value and the amazing qualities of the LGBT community and how they contribute to our city, how they enrich the culture and the economy and are valuable and necessary parts.
The language was really nice.
It was great.
Yeah.
And your response was so great. And to what you're saying, I think you acknowledge that, there are cities across the country that didn't do Pride Month this year.
Absolutely.
That had in the past.
Yeah.
It's kind of a stance, like, I'm with this team, and so I'm not going to do that this year.
Yeah.
And so the importance, even though it's just words,
yeah,
the proclamation, the importance of that to reflect that mirror back to the community that this city is an inclusive, hopefully safe city.
Yeah, and me pointing out Davenport and Rock Island for doing that, there are some Quad Cities places that didn't do that, but I also know that there are some of those that are also doing the work in a way that they're showing up at events. So like, that is not to say that one is better than the other for doing this and that.
Rock Island's better.
Yeah, so like East Moline, they just had a flag ceremony. They had they put the flag up and had a nice ceremony for that. So that was really cool. They didn't do a pride proclamation, but everyone's finding their own way to support the LGBTQ community, except for Bettendorf. But I mean, I didn't say that. But yeah, so I feel very blessed to be here. My response at Rock Island was a little bit different from the one that I did in Davenport, because I do feel the language of the proclamation was different. And I also was was it mid-June? When was that?
I think so.
Yeah. So I had been in 2 Pride Fests already at that point. We had held 3 or 4 different events for Clock and had like 8 or 9 to go. we have such amazing community partners that are also doing similar work with the LGBTQ community. So I gave a major shout out to all of the partners that we work with. So like the Project of the Quad Cities, QCAD, which essentially was Clock before Clock was Clock. Pride Inc. I shouted out the Affirming congregations. Again, as someone who grew up in the church, who has really nothing to do with the church anymore, to see that these congregations on both sides of the river are coming together and saying, we just want you to know that we are affirming, we care for the LGBTQ community, and we want to embrace them with open arms. That's powerful. That is so powerful. So I just wanted to make sure that I made, that aware, and I said that at those comments too, to just really shine a light on everything that the wonderful things that everyone's doing.
How does Rock Island become a place where the LGBTQ community wants to live? Like, have you looked at all at, there are actually like gayborhoods.
Yeah.
There's like villages for old lesbians to live in together. Around the country, there are these different models of almost pairing economic development, housing development with communities that need safety. Could Rock Island have like an LGBTQ village?
Yeah.
Or would people be into that? Is that offensive to be like, how do we recruit the gays to live here?
No, like, I don't think it's offensive. And if anyone's getting offended at that, they need to look at what's going on in the country and understand that we should probably be doing this. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, like I just saw this the other day on Broadway. Mm-hmm. They have Pride in Broadway signs. So like Broadway's the street, has really cool houses, but like I saw a sign that said Pride on Broadway and it has the equality rainbow flag on it. So I feel like maybe that's happening on that street at least. The
Broadway district would be a perfect location. There's these big, beautiful homes, and there's a really strong neighborhood.
Yes.
And,
So like something's happening already with that, because no one just makes signs like that and has one up. I feel like maybe there's more. I think Rock Island would be awesome to have someone invest in a like gay bar or something in our new kind of revitalized area where they're fixing up the buildings so they can get some businesses in. The Quad Cities used to be home to 6 or 7. At one time, there was 6 or 7 LGBTQ nightlife / bars.
So like one now?
There is 1.5 if you really. There's Mary's on 2nd in Davenport, and right next door is a venue that used to be a gay bar or a queer space, whatever, and then is now hosting like once a month drag, but it's more like a nightclub. It's not just specifically for gay people or queer people. So investing in something like that would be a boon, because honestly, right now we only have Mary's, and this is no offense to Mary's, but like it is in a part of the town that isn't revitalized. People don't always feel safe going there. And with all the stuff that you're doing on these front streets up here, it would be the perfect spot for it. Mm-hmm. So
to anyone listening, any investors,
anyone got the
with
money,
a business idea, you can email me.
Yes.
You can reach out to Adam and he'll connect you with me, and we'll talk to the city and we'll make it happen. Because I think that would be. And then I feel like the thing about Rock Island, because you have to come to us, like it's a destination, mm-hmm. is building things here that people value. They will come to it. Like Absolutely. The restaurants that have survived, Circa 21, it's always like a quality product that people come to. And I think having a really high quality gay bar would be awesome.
Yeah, I saw you reposted the video, I think it was you, the Out Coast, yes. Illinois. Yeah. So Rachel came to our area through the Illinois tourism grant, I think she got. But yeah, she went throughout the Quad Cities, Illinois side. And like, we have such a cool, inclusive, awesome gem of an area. Like, to foster sort of those like identity points, circa 21, and, you know, find some more that we can have here, could really create a little bit more of tourism dollars. People like getting away and not doing like, oh, I'm going on vacation and going to Europe. Like, people sometimes like doing a Galena. Let's go to Galena for the weekend. Why can't it be, let's go to Rock Island for the weekend and do, you know, all of these cool different things. I
always thought someone should also, because I am a therapist, and you hear a lot about people's personal, private lives, and more people than you would know do have kind of like alternative lifestyles in terms of, you know, polyamory, and there should be some sort of a bed and breakfast, or you know, something that would be kind of for people with alternative lifestyles or who practice polyamory. Or, I mean, I know that's a little out there, but making thinking about placemaking, thinking about different experiences, where people would travel to, you know, and maybe that's why I am so open, because when you have a window into people's private lives for 20 years, it's like, it would shock you, the people that are just out there walking around buttoned up, and it's like, okay.
Well, and also,
you know?
it's like that thing too, where it's like, yeah, we say that it's wild and out there, but also straight people have been swinging for years. So like, come on, like, don't tell me that it's that out there. But yeah, I that would be awesome. That would be very interesting, very cool. Also, I don't know much about it, but like, is there like movie credits starting to happen again for like getting people to make movies?
Films, and I think there is. And I think Rock Island is trying to build something to have, I mean, I think a creative hub, a filmmaking hub, an artist's hub.
That has been such a missed opportunity. I feel like on the Iowa side, about 10 or 15 years ago, the state of Iowa developed this film credit thing statewide that would have been chef's kiss amazing. But someone stole all the money, they shut down the program, and it's been like null and void ever since. That would be such a huge economic driver / get people here to see how cool this area is and be like, oh my gosh, not only can I do some really cool work on films, but also I could probably live here and have a much better quality of life, be able to afford life, and get more people invested. And I did just recently hear that there is some film credits starting to happen again in Rock Island specifically, which is amazing. And they need to invest in that because, again, it would have been such a cool thing for Davenport and Iowa cities to have, but it was ruined by one person. And I just think about that and think about all the picturesque things that we have here that could, you know, easily get film crews to be here and do their movies and shows. That seems like a thing that would be really neat.
Well, and also just the power that Clock has, or you organize events
and
you can partner with cities to bring people to cities that maybe haven't experienced them. Like, you host kickball leagues. You do pride hikes. And I think you were hiking through Black Hawk Park, one of them. So you're bringing a group of folks from maybe the region to come and do, you know, what if there were like regional weekend in Rock Island where you were booking hotels at the Rock Island Holiday Inn? And
I have a friend that just contacted me about wanting to host an event through Clock, basically like a kayak outing, a 3-day kayak outing that would be in this area. It's not going somewhere else. It's 3 days around here, and just having that collaboration. The Pride Hike, we started at Black Hawk State Park, but we're hopping around to all different places. Every single month we go to a different place. We're going to Sylvan Island. We're going to go to West Lake Park out in western Davenport. We just hop around and bring people out that might not go to these places. So just continuing to think about these things, to bring more people in, to continue to revitalize, and thinking outside of the box, not solely thinking about like, oh, we need to have pretty storefronts. Like, yeah, that's a really good thing, but also like, how are you going to get stores to get in there, and stores that are interesting enough to continue to get foot traffic and to continue to be able to financially stay in a place.
Yeah, and I think part of it is getting feedback from the community, like what you're saying. What do we want? What do we need?
Yeah.
You know, what is going to be a draw for people, and being open to listening to that feedback. What can Rock Island do that's different or very specific in the region to pull people in?
Absolutely.
And I think part of that is making sure that Rock Island is saying very clearly, we want all the LGBTQIA plus people coming here and enjoying the things we have here. And you're not only welcome, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
You're vital to our community. You know, just showing up as yourself and taking a hike in our park. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we love that.
Absolutely.
Come back again and again.
Yes. And the Pride Proclamation is a great start, signaling, saying like, at a base level, we see you and we want you here. So that's always just.
And I'm on a mission to like recruit. So if there's a family living in Bettendorf that feels slighted or not, call me. We'll find you a house. Your kids can just fit into the school system. It gets a lot of shit, but it's actually wonderful.
It is wonderful.
I've been blown away. My high schooler, who's going to be a sophomore, has like never been bullied. And there's not a lot of bullying that goes on in her friend group. I know there's bullying.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I think when you go to a school with so many different people, it becomes hard to have like one group that bullies the other group, you know.
Absolutely.
So I feel like they're just, a campaign to, you have to stay in Iowa and fight the good fight. But for anyone who's just exhausted and wants to just be embraced, come on over.
And don't get me wrong, like it really was like well, maybe I really should move over there. Like I really did have a struggle, like, but I ultimately know that that's where I need to be right now. But yeah, I mean, there are some pretty houses over here that I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. If I only had a little bit more of like that handyman mentality, because I'm not a handyman and I really don't want to do the work, but I also don't want to pay someone to do it. So like you said, if the city had an incentive, exactly,
or I think the high school should have some sort of a trade program. There should be a company called like Restore Rock Island, because our housing stock is so old.
Yes.
And we can't just put up new houses in a field.
Yeah.
We need some specialized like builders who know how to do restoration.
Yeah.
Maybe they partner with the high school and they take on these projects of somebody who's moving in. We're really happy to have them. They need help fixing some wood, you know, and maybe students do it.
We're coming up with so many good ideas today. This needs to happen. Yeah, and you don't want to take an old 125, 150-year-old home, gut it, and make it sterile and ugly. Like, you want to work on the things
Preserve
and
it.
bring it back to its beauty that it was before. But obviously, too, these used to be mansions that, you know, rich people lived in and out. It's like, well, if you have one of those houses, maybe we should retrofit this to be apartments, but also still keep the beauty,
Keep the flavor.
keep the flavor and the history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to kind of lean into our oldness.
Yeah. Because if we just gut it out, we lose the history, which is a good, just kind of, we don't want to lose our history, which is what we're starting to see people push us towards, and we have to fight back and continue to tell the stories, continue to tell the truth about what that is.
Yeah.
And that's me connecting the two on
I love that.
meta levels, bringing it together.
Yeah. There's no country I'd rather live in. America's awesome.
Yeah.
And we have a very painful history. There's a lot of problems. And I feel like you can like do both.
Yeah.
You can both look very clearly at the reality and honor the experiment that is going on here, and believe that over time it'll just keep getting better and better, and kind of link people together with, I love the Pete Buttigieg thing and the sign. I'm really going to carry that with me from today of like, how do we double down on these just principles below the surface that then get applied to everyone?
And we do need to do better on respecting our history and understanding that we can do both. And I feel like a lot of people have never understood that being contemplative about what has happened, the good and all of the bad as well, is not unpatriotic. It's actually true patriotism to think that I can love this idea, I can love this country, but also know that we've stepped in it a lot, and know that we've hurt people, and know that we've ruined lives, but also understand that this is a one-of-a-kind grand experiment that if we do not take care of and we do not foster and support along, we will lose it. And the history is just a part of that. And being very intentional about, like one thing people get up in arms about are all the statues that they're tearing down. Well, you talk about history, but you're tearing statues down. Well, it's like, well, if you actually did the research, the majority of these statues for Confederate generals or slaveholders were actually installed after the Civil War to scare people and make sure that they kept in their, in their mode of life. And it's like they weren't put up to honor these people beforehand. It was afterwards that they didn't need to be put up, understanding and learning. And we just don't have a lot of that happening right now.
And it's like, I could give a shit about a statue. Like, I feel like, and if my kids were going to look at it, I feel like I can see an idea that's contrary to what I believe. I can look at a piece of history that's, challenging, and I don't need it to be taken away on either side. So now they're going to rename the Navy ship that was named after Harvey Milk.
Yeah.
They're going to take that away because in that politic, they need to remove that. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing in some ways. It's just different sides removing a statue because like one side can't tolerate something. And I think in this thing of free speech, it's like stand in front of any statue and have a conversation with the people around you that you love about what it represents to you. Yeah. In some ways, it's like art. Yeah. If you have a statue of Thomas Jefferson, he's such a complicated figure. He owned hundreds of slaves, and he formed some of the most wonderful stuff about what our country looks like today. Yeah. Like, can't we be nuanced? Can't we look at things we disagree with and just stand up like grown-ups and be like, I don't like that, but I don't need you to tear it down because I can look at it and stand grounded in myself. I could look at a swastika on the side of a building. I would not like it. I might detest it. Maybe we'll clean it up. But I could have a conversation with my children about what that means, what it means in history. I'm not advocating for like vandalism. Yes, yeah. But any book, any words, any idea. Yeah. Like, if we're like, oh, take it away. Yeah. On either side.
We're not learning from that, and we're not talking about that. Absolutely.
We're turning off our brains. We're getting distracted. How distracting was the whole statue thing in the moment of civil rights? These little things just take away again from like the root. Yep. And now we're going to fight over one statue. Yep. It's like
the tribalism back and forth. It goes right back to that of like this, we just turn it off, take it away. We don't want anything to do with it. And it's like, nothing is going to change. Yeah. Nothing is going to change for the better if we continue to do this.
Yeah. I'd rather sit with you in front of that statue and you tell me about the history of how it was used as a tactic of intimidation. Mm-hmm. And then with my kids to like scan your body from head to toe. Notice, do you feel intimidated in the face of this statue? What does it tell you? What does it make you believe about yourself? Is that,
now we're talking about, now we're even getting on my level more, which is, scanning the body, which is so uncomfortable for so many people because they can't even grasp living in their own self and being present in our own self and feeling different emotions that might produce uncomfortableness, and being able to sit in that and not just like try to get rid of it or try to fix it. Right. A lot of people just don't have that emotional maturity or that intelligence around that.
Or honoring of I see a gay pride flag and I feel my body soften. Mm-hmm. I feel some general safety. I am not gay or lesbian, but I feel like, oh, that person is a safe person. Yeah. Just that signals to me and my body would relax. If I saw someone driving a truck with nuts on it, I'd get a little tense in my body, but I want that person to keep those nuts on that truck because that is a reflection.
I don't know about that. I just still don't understand the nuts on a truck phenomena. But yes, because
that's about gender. That is an expression of this thing about gender and, beating your chest, and like we have to celebrate that too, as long as it's not impacting my safety.
And that's where I just was going to go, sure, nuts on a truck, freedom, you do you.
Yes. If
Still,
you get out of your truck with a baseball bat and come at me, then it's different.
I still just can't wrap my head around it, because it's like, why would you want testicles on your truck?
But when I see that, I might feel like, oh, maybe that's not a safe person.
Yeah.
But there could be a different person driving down the road that sees that and is like, I feel good, or like we can't tell. We don't know how different symbols and
now I'm wondering if I need to add nuts to my car. You know, maybe I should reclaim that, like reclaiming patriotism, reclaiming the flag. I'm a queer person that's going to put this on my car and let everyone know that no, there isn't a scary person in there. There's someone that just loves putting testicles on things that it shouldn't be on. Yeah. I don't know. That's wild.
But that freedom of expression.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and the symbols, the statues, the paintings, the books, you know, little kid books, like doing that U-turn of how does this symbol affect me? And what is my response? I feel like I need it to go away. And being really curious about that. Why do I need that to go away? What am I afraid will happen if it stays? Yeah. And oftentimes that will boil down to like, somehow I won't be safe. Yeah. You know, somehow if I don't do this, if I don't have this part of me that's like, I don't know. I don't know. So it's
symbols and statues. I mean, Rock Island Connection, we have a lot of that conversation with the huge Chief Blackhawk sign that fell down from the wind. And, you know, there's been all of these online arguments about should it be there? Should, you know, the history of it is, you know, complicated and, you know, the bank wanted it to put it up and all of these things. And, you know, I think about it too. And I know the history. I know it's complicated, but I remember seeing it driving to my grandparents' house, and I always loved seeing it, like, you know. So it can be complicated, it can be hard, but having the conversation key.
Like, I have this space so that, you know, it would even be interesting to take to do an art thing of like those symbols in the Quad Cities and put them around a room and have everyone stand in front of them and just do the body scan and be like, what does this elicit in me? Yeah. What do I feel about myself, the world, whether it's an American flag or a, you know, pair of nuts or a you know, whatever it could be, a heart, a peace sign, anything. And just to have this like felt experience and then get people to sit down and not argue over that's the right symbol, that's the wrong symbol, but more have a conversation of like, holy shit, like we felt the same thing in our bodies about different things. And so my experience might be just as valid as yours. But underneath it, what is the value we have? I want all the things to get to stay up.
If you would have told me yesterday that I would be saying pair of nuts so much on this podcast today, I would have said you're crazy. But we're here now, and that's happening.
It's happened. Yeah, it's already gone there. But well, so we don't end on that note. Yeah, is there anything else that you would like to share, or you know, reflections on this experiment here? I'm doing an experiment of something. So.
Yeah. So I will say. I just always like to tell people, you know, Clock Inc. is for LGBT plus people, but it is not exclusively for LGBT plus people. It is for our Affirming allies as well. All our events, unless like a support group for that specific thing, like all of our events are welcome to everybody. And we have so many allies that attend to our events. Again, our Pride hikes, every last Sunday of the month through October. There's more information about where those are at on our website. But yeah, it's just basically to say we are constantly hosting events and everyone is welcome to those. We are better together. We are stronger together. And creating a community that is accepting and loving and affirming isn't an easy thing, but it is easy when we have folks who show up and say, I want to be a part of this. So that's an open invitation to everybody on that. As far as this goes, I am so excited to see how this continues to move forward. First of all, you are lovely. You are so wonderful, and it is so easy to talk to you. So just knowing, you know, that amazing conversations are going to be had here, and not only represent Rock Island in such a positive light, but getting folks coming to the table that might not, through having someone here in this seat that might bring them in, is really exciting. This is just another space that's being created to get people to a table, having a conversation. And again, I sound like a broken record, but like, we need that now more than ever. We need people coming together. We need people having conversations, specifically hard conversations. And I'm just so excited to see where this goes. I know this is an experiment in itself, but I hope that you find deep appreciation in it. And I hope that it goes on as long as it's positive for you. Like, I would love to see this go on forever. Like, this is so cool. I feel so lucky to be here. And I just love that you are creating a space for it. It's not like you're going to the radio station, doing it quick and leaving, but that it is a space and it is brightening the downtown of Rock Island. That's really exciting to me. And I can't wait to come back and someday and not have a conversation where I talk about truck nuts.
Well,
I brought it back even at the end.
I know, yeah. I so appreciate you, and hopefully there will be another opportunity. Yeah. Maybe we could even host something for you in here, or
absolutely
host a difficult conversation.
Yes.
Or if you think of someone who's got very different views that you would like to talk to and kind of model what that looks like.
Yeah.
You know, I would totally host that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'd be so open to that.
Yeah. And so anything that you think, you know, grounds us in those conversations, let me know, and I'd love to help you. And you are also lovely. Oh, and we've never met each other, never seen each other in person. So it's been good to get to know you, and so glad you're out there doing this work.
We're going to continue to do it.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Okay, we did it.
Yay.